Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of the Swordsman Trilogy, 3 Hong Kong wuxia action movies from the early 1990s. They're essentially fantasy swordplay movies. So let's cover the Swordsman first from 1990, directed by King Hu, who I believe became ill during the filming of this movie and was assisted by co-directors Choi Hark, Siu-tung, and some others to finish it off for him. The story is set in 16th century China during the Ming dynasty. A eunuch from the spy agency Eastern Depot leads a team to retrieve a martial arts manual stolen from the imperial palace. They track down and attack the thief. Around that time, members of the Mount Hua Sect encounter the thief and save him. Before succumbing to his wounds, he requests that they find and tell his son where he had hidden the manual. So the story of Swordsman is old school in some ways. It has that traditional period piece storytelling structure that involves a bunch of characters from multiple clans that come and go fairly rapidly. So you need to be attentive to follow everything that's happening and everyone who shows up. If you're a bit frustrated early on, just stick with it because things kind of clear up as it moves along, and the character motivations and the morality of the factions do become more clear as the plot progresses. It's actually a pretty good story, and it moves along nicely, although there are a few slow patches during the middle section. There is some humor peppered in, with more of a focus on occasionally lightening the mood instead of providing gut-wrenching laughter. So this isn't like a laugh-out-loud comedy, but it does have an infusion of it in it. This movie does feel rather conventional for the industry, but the action is good, and Yun-Hua is one of the villains. It's always nice to see him. There are some, of course, superhuman abilities, like throwing metal balls at the speed of bullets, splitting people in half, which is always great to see, or breaking swords with mere hands during the fight. It has a souped-up feel, I guess I would say, but the choreography is still good, which is important. And there is some unorthodox weaponry introduced as well, involving a few animals like snakes and bees. This does have some nice use of color, blues especially, nicely shot, which is no surprise given the director. If you're not familiar with King Hu, check out Dragon Inn, A Touch of Zen, Legend of the Mountain, and Painted Skin. I think overall Swordsman is a solid film within its genre, but it is surpassed by its sequel, which is Swordsman 2 from 1992. This was primarily directed by Siu-tung. So you have members of the Mount Hua Sect, one of whom is played by Brigitte Lin this time, are planning to retire from the martial arts community, but they learn that Dongfang, played by Brigitte Lin, has seized control of the Sun Moon Holy Cult and is secretly plotting with some Japanese ronin to rebel against the Ming Empire and dominate China. Dongfang had castrated himself in order to master the skills of the Sunflower Manual, and his appearance has become more feminine, even though he is now a formidable martial artist. So the story in Swordsman 2 is a more simplistic and streamlined version here, with fewer moving parts, which is actually a good thing in my opinion, in this particular case. It has that star-crossed lovers theme that's similar in some ways to The Bride with White Hair, and both leads have good chemistry. I think I like the plot conflict more than the first film. It's just more engaging here. Viewer note that Jet Li gets ample screen time, but he's not asked to carry the entire film. Michelle Reese, Rosamund Kwan, and Weiss Lee have some supporting roles to kind of carry the load, so to speak. The cool thing about Swordsman 2 is that it feels like an even more souped-up version of its predecessor. And one thing I like about these Hong Kong fantasy flicks from the early 90s is that they frequently have some pretty cool death scenes, like exploding bodies, crazy fantasy-style wuxia films needed to kind of compensate for their limited resources. So these are not $200 million CGI movies, so the directors and filmmakers need to use little tricks of the trade in order to create superhuman abilities. But thankfully, the edits are spaced out enough so you could tell what's happening during the action. Lots of wire work used, but it's good quality. When you look back at some of these flicks, like some of the stuff that's just almost like a cliche, like flying cloth, I actually like the way it looks more than like a CGI projectile in modern films. It has a certain I don't know, I would say a slight basis in reality because they're using real objects during most of this shooting. I don't know. I like how it grounds the film just a little bit, despite the fact that it's a fantasy film. And the weaponry is usually creative. Movie opens with Japanese ninja who use black scorpions as weapons and gigantic flying stars as transportation devices. One girl uses snakes like they're boomerangs. And there's a fun little prison escape scene. And the finale is surprisingly explosive. So I think Swordsman 2 is like a step up from the first film in most areas. The action is better, the story is better, the fantasy atmosphere is better, and the characters are better. And the pacing is even tighter, with a runtime that's 12 minutes shorter than its predecessor. So, and remember, this was directed by Siu-tung, the man who gave us the Chinese Ghost Story trilogy, Duel to the Death. This guy's like legit. So I think that Swordsman 2 is a must-see film. It's the best of the trilogy, and if you have any interest in films of this type, this one you gotta check out. So what about Swordsman 3, The East is Red from 1993? Well, Siu-tung did return to the director's seat, and this is our plot. Following Dongfang's, played by Brigitte Lin again, apparent death in Swordsman 2, the martial arts community disintegrates into chaos as it lacks a dominant figure to serve as a de facto leader. Several imposters use her name to rally supporters, form their own sects, and fight for power. One of Dongfang's devoted lovers, played by Joey Wong, rebuilds the Sun Moon Holy Cult, and the Ming Imperial Army or court sends a naval admiral, played by Yu Rong Wang, to assist the Spanish in searching for the remains of a Dutch warship sunk near Blackwood's Cliff, the site of Dongfang's death in Swordsman 2. They discover that Dongfang is still alive. So Brigitte Lin returns and basically goes out to kill her imposters in this sequel. The opening 5 minutes is basically a summary of the previous film, Swordsman 2, so just be prepared for that. Brigitte Lin cuts loose even more than usual here, which is fun to watch. The script is fine in this, but the story seemed less interesting than the first two movies, especially the second one. Fortunately, there's enough fast-paced, over-the-top action to hold your attention. Even a little romantic tongue action to enjoy, which I won't get into. There are some surprises. There's a bald dude who's caked in flour who appears out of nowhere. I'm like, holy crap, who the heck is this guy? That guy surprised me. It kind of scared me a little bit. The ending is certainly unexpected. I was kind of shocked by it. So that's a positive. Action design has an added emphasis on pirate ship-style naval battles with cannons that take place at sea. But we also get lots of odd weaponry, a lot of sewing needles with thread in this movie. And this is primarily the reason to watch The East is Red. The action has a certain entertainment value to it, despite the fact that it's a downgrade overall when compared to Swordsman 2 in most filmmaking aspects. It actually does make a nice double feature with Swordsman 2 due to its continuing storyline and Brigitte Lin appearing in both. And this does have the shortest runtime of the entire trilogy at only 1 hour and 37 minutes, so it's pretty easy to sit through. So I do recommend all three movies, but I say Swordsman 2 is the best of the bunch. If you insist on just watching one of these three films to start as an intro to the trilogy, I say just start with Swordsman 2. That's the one to watch. If you like it, check out the rest. And like I said, it makes a really nice double feature with Swordsman 3, and then the first one is good too. So, pretty solid trilogy, I think. You could find all of them on Region A Blu-ray with subtitles. You could check the DDD House website. I know they have them there. Or maybe eBay has the first. I think the first film's a little bit more difficult to find, but it should be available on eBay or Amazon. And then the sequels are available on DDD House. So if you've seen these, let me know what you think. Which one is your personal favorite? I'd be interested in hearing if someone does not like Swordsman 2 as their favorite of the bunch. And as always, I will see you next time.